Guys, I am just so bored right now. Jeez, I need a haircut. But guys, I'm so bored. I figured I would do this and look back at every five-star recruit in the Urban Meyer era, spanning from 2012 to 2019, see how their college career turned out, see how their NFL careers turn out, things like that. Just look back for fun at every five-star recruit Urban Meyer signed when he was at Ohio State. And an interesting thing, 0 five-star quarterbacks. Urban Meyer signed 0 five-star quarterbacks. That's, just something, the way his offense was ran, that they tried with Deshaun Watson. Did Deshaun Watson, was he even a composite five-star? I don't even know if Deshaun was. And then Tate Martell. Tate Martell was actually a five-star for a decent amount of time, and then he got bumped down and finished ranked 48th overall. But guys, let's look back, see how some of these careers turned out. So Urban Meyer gets hired in 2012 and immediately makes a major impact. And guys, I'm sure we remember him, Noah Spence. We remember the badass face mask that he always had. Noah Spence should have been an absolute superstar. Urban Meyer, his first offseason, makes a major splash and gets the number 5 overall player in the country from Pennsylvania. Comes out of nowhere. Noah Spence had a Final 5 and didn't even include Ohio State until Urban Meyer was hired by the Buckeyes. Fun fact there. And then Ohio State is able to land the superstar. And you can take a look at his 2 years at Ohio State. Plays a little bit as a true freshman. Gets a sack. And then as a sophomore, guys, 14 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks in 13 games. Absolutely set up for a major junior season. Gonna be a top 10 pick. And then the off-the-field issues. You guys can see Noah Spence declared permanently ineligible. We know the story. That the Big Ten actually did that. Ohio State was hoping to get Noah Spence back, but the Big Ten declared him ineligible due to a foreign substance, and then he ended up transferring to Eastern Kentucky and still ended up the 39th overall pick. So that's really good. A dude who dealt with some major off-the-field problems, transfers to Eastern Kentucky, puts up crazy stats at Eastern Kentucky, and he ends up a second-round pick by the Tampa Bay Bucks. Unfortunately for him and for the Bucks, his NFL career really hasn't worked out. He currently is signed to a futures contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's back in the state of Ohio. Noah Spence, it's an unfortunate story. He was going to be an absolute superstar. I remember he was number 8, man. He was such a good-looking defensive pass rusher. He was just built like a stone, Noah Spence. In his NFL career, 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. It hasn't worked out. It is unfortunate. The other five-star that Ohio State and Urban Meyer was able to sign in 2012 was an in-state prospect from Cincinnati, ADOLPHUS, Washington, listed as an edge rusher. He ended up playing defensive tackle for Ohio State, I believe, and he played 4 full seasons for the Buckeyes. You can see his overall stats. In his junior season, he had 10.5 tackles for loss. Pretty constant production throughout his entire career, but I'm just not seeing any five-star type impact from ADOLPHUS. Unfortunately, he ended up getting picked 80th overall by the Buffalo Bills in the draft, and he spent 3 years with the Bills, caught on with the Cowboys practice squad, went to Cincinnati, and then Miami in 2019, and unfortunately, since 2019, he's been out of the NFL. His NFL career, 62 tackles, 4.5 sacks with 0 forced fumbles. So for being a former five-star, that is not very good production for ADOLPHUS. But of course, he was part of the 2014 National Championship team, and he did contribute. So it's not like you can call him a five-star bust being drafted in the 3rd round. That's respectable. Let's be honest, guys. That's not bad for ADOLPHUS, Washington. So they signed 2 five-stars in 2012. 2013, I believe they only signed 1 five-star, but it was a big one. Vonn Bell. And guys, Ohio State is trying to do The same thing this year with Caleb Downs, going in the heart of the South and taking out a major safety prospect, Vonn Bell, originally from Tennessee. Then I think he moved to Georgia, the number 26 overall player. What a major upset it was for Ohio State when they got him. He played 3 years at Ohio State. You know, pretty consistent stats, nothing unbelievable, but he was a solid starting safety. And of course, he was part of the 2014 national title team. He did have, I don't remember him having 6 interceptions in 2014. He had 6 interceptions? I do not remember him having that many interceptions. He ended up going late in the second round after being a 3-and-done at Ohio State, so he left after his junior season with the 61st overall pick, played out his 4-year contract, rookie contract, with the New Orleans Saints, and then signed a nice little 3-year, $18 million deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. You can see he was a national championship first-team All-American in 2015. First-team All-American? As a safety in the country? I do not remember Vonn Bell being a first-team All-American and then first-team All-Big Ten. I can understand that. I guess because he had the 6 interceptions. Good for him. And his NFL career, he's been a starting safety for, you know, every year he's been in the league for 7 seasons. So really good NFL career. This is the dream. You make the NFL, you win a national title at a college, you make it to the NFL, and you get multi-million-dollar deals in the NFL, and you set yourself up for life, and you set your family and your kids up for life. This is what you want to be doing. Vonn Bell certainly lived up to his 5-star status, even if he wasn't a first-round pick. The next, I think, this was also part of that same class, JALIN Marshall, who just barely was a 5-star. He's actually from Middletown, Ohio, so pretty easy recruitment to win there. Listed as a wide receiver. I don't think anyone outside of Ohio State fans will really appreciate how good of a returner JALIN Marshall is. Unfortunately, JALIN got some really bad advice from someone, that told him to leave after his junior season. He only played 2 seasons at Ohio State. I'm sure we all remember back in 2014, that punt return for a touchdown against Indiana when we almost got upset. That was amazing. That was JALIN Marshall's, probably his best play of his career. He had 500 receiving yards in 2014, around 500 in 2015, but he was a really good kickoff returner and punt returner. It'll be interesting to see if Emeka Egbuka can do anything in terms of kickoffs. I know Ohio State has a major dry spell. It's been like 12 straight years they haven't had a kickoff return for a touchdown, or it's like over a decade. I don't know the exact amount, but it's been a while. JALIN Marshall gets bad advice. He was just a great return man, but he left after 2 seasons and ended up going undrafted. So undrafted in 2016, signs on with the New York Jets, ends up starting 1 game in the NFL, plays with the Jets for 2 years, and then he goes off, looks like to the Canadian League. Oh, he was on the Oakland Raiders practice squad randomly in 2019. I didn't realize that. Look at this, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So he's playing in Canada with the Edmonton Elks right now, and in his NFL career, he did have 14 receptions for 162 yards. I do remember JALIN Marshall in the preseason getting a long kickoff return, not for a touchdown, but I remember it, and I was like, he might actually make the team, and he did make the Jets as an undrafted free agent, but he just got bad advice. I think he could have been a 4th or a 5th round pick if he would have stayed at Ohio State another year. The next guy, it's going to be another dude from Georgia. It was tough for Urban Meyer. There just wasn't a lot of talent in the state of Ohio, and even like right now, today, it's not like there's a ton of in-state talent, but at least Ryan Day has had CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles. You've had at least like 1 5-star every year. But like from 2013 to 2015, there was just no in-state talent. So Ohio State's only 5-star this year was RAEKWON McMillan, who was the number 22 overall player from the state of Georgia. Unbelievable recruitment win for the Buckeyes and for Urban Meyer. The number 1 overall linebacker. RAEKWON had a very successful year at Ohio State. He was a 3-and-done. Played in 13 games all 3 seasons, had good tackles. Tackles for loss, 7, 4, and 7, so 18 total, and then 6 sacks as a linebacker. That is not bad. I truly believe if RAEKWON McMillan was like a decade earlier, he would have been a first-round pick. The problem is he wasn't very fast. He doesn't fit the modern athletic linebacker look. He ended up getting picked in the second round with the 54th overall selection by the Miami Dolphins, and unfortunately has had significant injury issues in the NFL. It's so sad. He was first team All Big Ten in 2016, national championship in the NFL. He has 3 forced fumbles and 3 pass defenses. But this is what I was talking about. On August 10th, 2017, he made his professional debut for the Dolphins, and this is coming off him having an unbelievable rookie camp. They were raving about RAEKWON McMillan in Miami. He was going to be the starter. And he tear his ACL in the first preseason game of his career, and that ended his rookie season. Then you look at this with the Patriots. On March 19th, 2021, he signs a deal and then suffers a torn ACL in practice before the season in August of 2021. Oh, no. You got to feel bad for RAEKWON. Hopefully, he can get back out there. He is with the New England Patriots right now. Moving on to the next 5-star Urban Meyer signed. It's going to be Justin Hilliard from Cincy, Ohio. We know those Cincinnati recruits can be a little bit tough to come by. People don't realize how close Cincinnati is to Kentucky. It's basically in Kentucky. That's how close it is. So Cincinnati recruits, a little bit tougher for Ohio State, but Urban Meyer gets the job done, lands Justin Hilliard, barely was a 5-star, the number 35 overall player, although 247 Sports' solo rankings had him at number 20 overall, and he had some major injury issues, played 6 seasons at Ohio State, you guys can see, and kind of produced a little bit in 2019 and 2020. It's unfortunate with the pandemic. I would have loved to have seen what Justin could have done in a full season there in his 6th year, but he did have 5 tackles for loss, kind of playing 30, maybe 40% of the snaps. We had that weird linebacker rotation in 2020. The defense was just a mess in 2020. He ended up going undrafted in 2021, signing on with the San Francisco 49ers practice squad, getting cut from there, and then signing on with the New York Giants. And unfortunately for Justin, we got word earlier this month, 10 days ago actually, June 17th, he actually has been suspended for a few games in the NFL. It happens to the best of us. It's all right. We're, Justin Hilliard, he's a really upstanding kid. He's a good kid. Performance enhancing, whatever. It is what it is. We don't hold that against him. Moving on to the next 5-star that Urban Meyer signed in the next class, Nick Bosa. I don't know how Nick Bosa was not a top 3 or 2 player minimum, but for whatever reason, they ranked him 8th. He's still a 5-star, but you look at his brother, I don't know how you can't have this kid as a top 5 player. So kind of an easy recruitment for Urban Meyer to win, being Joey Bosa's brother and seeing how Larry Johnson developed Joey Bosa. Nick Bosa, the number 8th overall player from St. Thomas Aquinas, commits to Ohio State. And I don't think anyone outside of Ohio State fans remember how dominant Nick Bosa was those first 3 games of his junior season. So in 3 games, basically 2.5 games, because he suffered the injury against TCU. You guys remember that non-conference random game against TCU when they had all those trick plays? That was a weird game, but with Haskins and stuff, Ohio State came back and won. Nick Bosa had a crazy strip sack in that game. I think Draymond Jones had a pick 6 in that game, if I remember correctly. But yeah, in those 3 games, he had 6 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. And that's honestly, remember that I think Ohio State opened with Bowling Green that year, and he only played 1 half in the first game against Bowling Green. So that's basically in 4 halves. Nick Bosa had 6 tackles for loss. He was going to have a monster junior season, similarly to how Chase Young had his junior season, but unfortunately, it was cut short due to an injury. He had an amazing sophomore season with 16 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and as a true freshman, he was an impact player as well. And Nick Bosa was drafted with the number 2 overall pick in the 2019 draft, and you can see he's Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's already a 2-time Pro Bowler. The only reason he's not a 3-time Pro Bowler is because he tore his ACL in week 2 of his sophomore season. He's been on the All-Rookie team. He was a first-team All-American, first team All Big Ten, defensive lineman of the year. Of course, he would be a two-time, defensive lineman of the year, but he got injured his junior season. And then his NFL stats in basically 2 seasons, he has 30.5 tackles for loss. So Nick Bosa is an absolute beast. The next guy in that same class, they also signed oh no, he wasn't a 5-star. I thought Jonathan Cooper was a 5-star, but he was not. So Jonathan Cooper, just looking at him, he just missed it. I guess he did just miss it. So Jonathan Cooper wasn't. So going on to the 2017 class, the greatest class for Urban Meyer, Chase Young, the number 7 overall player from Maryland. We remember when Chase Young committed during the Friday Night Lights event. We remember on the field. I remember that. So the number 7 overall player, he really moved up late in the process in terms of his overall ranking. And you take a look, as a true freshman playing a little bit behind Nick Bosa, had 5 tackles for loss. As a sophomore, you're talking about 10.5 sacks, and then the absolute explosion where he was leading the Heisman race as a junior, 16.5 sacks. Someone apparently within Maryland's program told on him, he paid his girlfriend, he got money from someone to let his girlfriend come out to the Rose Bowl or whatever, and unfortunately, that suspended him for 2 games and really ruined any chance he had at the Heisman. Of course, he wasn't going to win the Heisman anyways because Joe Burrow was just Superman that year, but he probably would have finished second. So in 12 games, 16.5 sacks, that's just ridiculous. If he would have played 14 games, he probably would have finished with 20 sacks. He ended up being the number 2 overall pick, and you take a look at his accolades already. I mean, this is even with him being injured much of his sophomore season in the NFL. He had a injury. He was a Pro Bowler as a rookie. He made the All-Rookie team, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Big Ten Male Athlete of the Year, all those different awards, unanimous All-American in 2019. I don't know where he finished exactly in terms of the Heisman vote, but I know him, Justin Fields, and Dobbins were all top 5, at least either top 5 or top 6. I don't remember exactly, but unbelievable career for Chase Young. The next guy, Jeff Okudah. Jeffrey Okudah, originally when he was being recruited, I don't know if he shortened his name but his original name was Jeffrey Okudah, and he was listed as a safety. And this is a recruitment Ohio State. I remember they led wire to wire, and they benefited greatly from Texas being down, easily landing the superstar corner, number 8 player in the nation, Jeff Okudah. Unbelievable shutdown junior season. 8 pass defense. As a sophomore, he played really well. If you guys remember that Rose Bowl game against Washington, that's when he really broke out and then had an unbelievable junior season, and just in the 2020 draft, completely remarkable. To be a cornerback and drafted 3rd overall by the Detroit Lions. And unfortunately for Jeff, he suffered with some injuries, and I think he's going to be unbelievable in the NFL. I know it's been 2 years and Lions fans are pissed, because the thing is, a lot of Lions fans are also Michigan fans, so they already didn't like Okudah, and now he's been injured, so he's getting a lot of hate. But I think Jeff is going to be amazing once he gets healthy this year with Aiden Hutchinson on the Lions. He's going to be a shutdown corner in the NFL. He has such an amazing athletic overall body to where he can just drape himself to receivers and completely shut them down. He's so athletic. Just so athletic. So I love Jeff Okudah. And he was the number 3 overall pick. So number 2 overall pick and number 3 overall pick, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah. Then we have Baron Browning. So Baron is probably like my favorite recruit ever. I thought this dude was going to be such a beast. I mean, he has the perfect name for a linebacker. His recruitment was crazy. Up until the last day of his recruitment, people were wondering, they thought he was going to go to Alabama. He ends up coming to Ohio State, the number 11 overall player, the linebacker from Texas. He was actually randomly committed to TCU early in the process, but ended up decommitting there. And what a huge win this was for Urban Meyer. Unfortunately, I think his development was completely botched. Ohio State, with Bill Davis, the linebacker, it was just not a good situation, and they didn't know where to play Barron. You take a look at his overall numbers. As a freshman, sophomore, not great. He had a really nice junior season, and then as a senior, in the shortened year, 7 games, he had 29 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. So, unfortunately for Barron, I do think we botched his development a little bit. You just have to admit it, you know. Barron was kind of a tweener. It was like he was too big to be a linebacker, but too small to be an edge rusher. Like he was that perfect height. I don't know, maybe he should have been an edge rusher the whole time. But he ended up getting drafted in the 3rd round by the Denver Broncos and played his rookie season. Actually had 58 total tackles and 2 pass defenses, so not bad for a 3rd round pick. The next guy, Shaun Wade, the number 17 overall player from Jacksonville, Florida. Man, if you remember his recruitment, everyone thought he was flipping to Alabama, but he ended up staying with Ohio State. He committed to Ohio State. Like he was the number 2 overall commit in the class of 2017, and he, ended up sticking with it. He never decommitted. So you can see Shaun, unfortunately, probably should have left after his redshirt sophomore season. Would have probably been a 1st-round pick. But he came back, and we remember the cursed 2020 year with how bad Ohio State's defense was. I mean, his stats, I remember he got a pick 6 against Indiana. We remember, of course, in 2020. But other than that, it was tough. He ended up going in the 5th round and kind of had a really interesting start to his NFL career. So he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, and then that same offseason, he was traded to the New England Patriots because the Ravens had like roster issues where they had to get somebody off their roster. You can see he was drafted in April of 2021 in the 5th round, and then in August of 2021 was traded for a 2023 5th round pick. So he was drafted for a 5th round pick. 3 months later, traded for a 5th round pick without playing a single game. Very interesting. He's with the New England Patriots right now, and maybe he can carve a role as a starter. We will see. The next guy, this is the first offensive lineman, 5-star for Urban Meyer. It's the 5th 5-star of the class of 2017, WYATT Davis. Ohio State was really taking advantage of USC being down here. WYATT Davis, there were some rumors that he was going to go to Alabama, but he ended up committing to Ohio State in the summer of 2016, and he ended up being a 3rd round pick. WYATT was pretty good at Ohio State as a guard. He wasn't amazing, but I thought he was better than the 86th overall pick. I thought he would have been a 2nd round pick. You can see he won the Offensive Lineman of the Year in 2020. It was a shortened season, and he played 6 games with the Minnesota Vikings in 2021, so we will see how his career ends up. The next year, Urban Meyer, this was a crazy recruitment. NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere, looked like he was going to Notre Dame. Urban Meyer, after missing on Jackson Carman, swoops in and steals NPF. Like, thanks to Greg Schiano. Greg Schiano knew his family or something, and he was able to get him. But yeah, everyone thought for like 12 straight months, Jackson Carman, who was a 5-star offensive tackle, was going to Ohio State. And apparently when Carman called up Urban like screamed. Jackson Carman like called up Urban Meyer and told him that he's going to Clemson, and Urban like screamed or something. I don't remember what exactly happened, but that was just a rumor. And NPF, it really took NPF 2 years to bulk up, but this past year he was really good as a right tackle and ended up being a 3rd round pick by the Tennessee Titans. You can see he was 2nd team. Wow, he was a 2nd team All-American in 2021, 1st team All-Big Ten, and he currently is starting out his NFL career with the Titans, probably as a backup tackle at this point. The next guy, it's going to be TARON VINCENT, who is still with Ohio State to this day, the number 20 overall player. I remember he chose Ohio State over Florida State from IMG Academy. You can see his 3 years, didn't play in 2019 due to injury. Unfortunately, with Vincent, it's just been low impact for a former 5-star. This is low impact. His best year, he had 3.5 tackles for loss. In his career, he only has 2 sacks. He will very likely be a rotational player his final and senior season for Ohio State in 2022. And then we've also got Tyreek Johnson, who committed to Ohio State. You can see from Jacksonville, Florida, the number 21 overall player, the number 2 ranked safety, and it did not work out for Tyreek Johnson. He had a total of 8 tackles in 2 years at Ohio State before transferring to Nebraska in the portal, and he didn't play at all last year. So that was the class of 2018. And then Urban Meyer's final year, the class of 2019, Zach Harrison. Really interesting recruitment. You would think he's from Ohio. He's going to Ohio State, but he was very close to going to Michigan. And thankfully Urban Meyer was able to land him the number 12th overall player. In his 3 seasons at Ohio State, a lot of people were expecting more from him last year. He's returning for his senior season. I'm still optimistic Zach could be at least a 2nd or a 3rd round pick in the draft. Worst case, if he can put up a really good senior season, he should play, I would say, 50 to 60% of the snaps. I mean, Ohio State does have some really young, good pass rushers, but Zach Harrison still, I think Ohio State fans really underrate Zach Harrison because he has a great pressure rate. Maybe he's not going to get the sacks. He only has 7.5 sacks in his career, but he still is a good player. Garrett Wilson, of course, unbelievable. The 20th overall player. That mainly is Brian Hartline for identifying him. Well, actually, I think he was a 5-star throughout the entire process, but Garrett Wilson was originally from Ohio, so that helped Ohio State in that recruitment, and he had just an unbelievable career at Ohio State and ended up going with the number 10th overall pick. And then the final 5-star Urban Meyer signed for the class of 2019 was Harry Miller, the center from Georgia. And unfortunately, we know the sad story with Harry Miller medically retiring from college football after 2 seasons, kind of starting a few games due to mental health issues. So he is medically retired. So that is every 5-star that Urban Meyer signed. I can do this with other coaches if, James Franklin, maybe not Nick Saban. I would be here for an hour and a half if I did it with Nick Saban, but I might do it with other coaches. We'll see. Just a fun thing to look back on the overall careers of some of these guys. Some of them were busts. Some of them turned out good. Ohio State obviously has a ton of 5-stars on their current roster right now. They've got 5-stars, in the class of 2023, in the class of 2024 already. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys play. But guys, that'll do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.